What is up, guys? You got Ozzy here. Today, we're going to be going through, it is December, you know, some of you might be looking at buying a PC, and preferably, this is mainly for people who's looking to build it themselves, okay? I'm not going to cover pre-builds here today. If you'd like me to do it, just let me know. But yeah, we're going to be going through parts at a number of different set price ranges, and we're going through what I think you should be buying. And I'm going to go through a couple things that you shouldn't be buying too. But if you've done any bit of research, most of the things that I'm going to say to you here are pretty self-explanatory. You might not need to hear them from me. So if you've done your research, probably not 100% video for you. You can still watch. I mean, I won't mind. You can watch it if you want. But yeah, if you haven't done your research, this is a starting point for you. Yeah, this is where probably a good place to start. I'm going to go through price ranges of $1,000. We got two builds for $1,000, $1,500 and $2,000. I think I got $2,500 as well. Anything from there upwards, it gets really easy. So I'll run through that quickly. Those four main price points is what we want to be going through today. Let's start off with the first one. This is for $1,000. Now, you see, we've gone a little bit over here, but there's a reason for that, okay? So this is the price range. You got 1,000 Australian dollars, okay? This is not a lot to build a decent PC. I'm gonna be honest with you, is very hard to do. And you can see we've got a 6750 XT here for the GPU, but we'll get into that. Let's run through the other specs first. So what we've got, we're gonna get you started on the AM4 platform. So that's gonna be a B550 motherboard. This is a couple generations old now, okay? The reason that is, these are still available, these are still supported, they're very cheap, and they provide excellent value for your money. So we got the 5600, very basic. I would say get this over the 5600X. You can easily go PBO, overclock this thing slightly. Well, not even overclocking, just turn on PBO, making sure it's, you know, boosting a little bit extra. That's what you want, okay? And you can always do that. I wouldn't do it in particularly this situation because we're using a stock cooler here in order to save as much money as possible. But if you do want to do that, buy an aftermarket cooler, anything like a Peerless Assassin, something like that, just get that. 16 gigs of DDR4, a P3 Plus, this is a killer budget SSD. Don't get DRAM. The write speeds, read speeds aren't too crazy. I think they're around 5,000, which is still, you know, it's still good, especially if you're coming from, you know, hard drive or a SATA SSD. It's not as crazy as Gen 4 SSDs can go, but we're on a budget here, okay? Case, you know, this is obviously up to you. I just chose something around 70 bucks. You can go a little bit more, you can go a little bit less. I probably wouldn't go any less than this. You got a lot of decent budget cases in this price range. Power supply, personally, if I was building this PC, I would spend more on a power supply. I would stretch that budget and get a decent power supply. Yeah, at least something that's gold rated. Look it up, look at reviews, make sure it's solid, make sure the company you're buying from has good warranty, stuff like that. These are all important for a power supply. Now, the GPU, this is the unfortunate part. Because of certain factors, NVIDIA, entry-level GPUs are not affordable. So what I would do, I wouldn't consider buying a brand new GPU at this price range. It might be tough to hear. If you really, really need a new GPU and you're at this price range of $1,000, I would save a bit more money, go to the higher tier, where buying new cards is a bit more viable. At this price range, unfortunately, the fact of the current situation is you shouldn't be doing it because the value at some of these entry-level cards are really, really crappy. A couple of these 4060, I'm going to recommend you don't buy an RTX 4060. Just to get this out of the way, this is more focused on like a single-player gaming sort of experience. I've got another build at $1,000 for esports titles. Okay, that's not this one. If you're mainly playing CS2, Valorant, Fortnite, stuff like that, this is probably not the build for you. I've got a more CPU-focused build at this price range coming up next. But if you're looking to get, you know, some decent AAA modern game experiences, the 4060 might do it for now. Maybe next year. The year after that, you're going to have to upgrade anyway, because that card... So the RTX 4060 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. We're already seeing games, even at 1080p now, where this is not enough, okay? First of all, the way things are going, 1440p is going to replace 1080p. For 4040p, in 1 or 2 years, 8 gigabytes is not going to be enough. NVIDIA is selling this to you, planning for it to be obsolete so you can upgrade in a couple of years. I would avoid this. You can do it if you really want to. Just, I'm warning you now. Don't come back to me in a year or two, okay, and be like, oh, I need to upgrade and everything's so unaffordable because I only have 8 gigs. I'm just saying, I told you now. I would recommend don't do this, okay? Do not get this card. Same goes for the AMD option, the RX 7600. The RX 7600, it's a little bit cheaper. It's still 8 gigs. It might be a little bit faster in some situations. You don't have DLSS or anything. I would steer clear of this as well. There is a RX 7600 XT, which has 16 gigabytes of VRAM. I feel like the prices in Australia for those cards are a little bit excessive, so I would avoid those as well. Now, what you want to be doing is you want to be heading on eBay or something like that, okay? And you want to be picking up one of the following options. The first one is the RTX 3070. We're gonna go straight onto eBay and see what we can find. So we're gonna go to RTX 3070. Now, I know that I said 8 gigabytes is a problem, okay? But with these, I would be more willing to do it since the actually just raw power of this card is very good for the money you're paying. I would think this is a much better deal than the 4060. I personally would not go for this, but this is mainly more for those that refuse to get an AMD graphics card. I would be willing to go more for an RX 6750 XT. You can find these maybe around $400 or $500, a little bit expensive, might push you over the budget, but that is just the way things are at the moment. Another good option, if you really want to get the most out of your money, 2070 Super, RTX 2070, and 2080. If you can find a good deal on these, I wouldn't pay more than like $300, maybe $350 for a 2070 Super, no more than $300 for 2070. But these are quite good. They match the 4060 quite well, and they're going to come in a little bit cheaper. Probably your best bet at this point is probably try and get a 6750 XT, just because that 12 gigabyte buffer is going to do a lot for you. You can see the prices have gone up a little bit on those because that's what most people are buying at this price range. I'm going to be honest with you, if you're buying in this price range, the TLDR is save a bit more and wait. The current budget offerings at this price range is honestly quite crap at the moment. There is a saving grace for this. Coming up soon is the Intel Arc B580. Now, we don't have reviews for this yet, so wait for reviews. But from what we're seeing, this is going to be a very strong entry-level card. You got 12 gigabytes of VRAM, so you're covered there. You've got actually quite strong, or what Intel claim, quite strong ray tracing performance, and you've got a decent upscaler in XeSS, which is much better than AMD's FSR3, which can tend to look kind of crappy. Now we're going to move on to our esports title-oriented build. And this is going to get a bit of a stronger processor here. We've got the i5 12600K, well, technically KF. You've got a, we did actually have to go with an aftermarket cooler here. I will usually recommend this for a lot of higher end Intel CPUs. Don't use the stock cooler. Intel at the moment tend to use a bit more power. You're going to want that cooler to ensure that your CPU is running cool and get a little bit more quiet. We've gone with the DDR4 again. This P3 Plus again. This time we got an RX 6600. This is a very good budget card. You could actually throw the RX 6600 in here as well. It's quite cheap, but just keep in mind you'll probably be upgrade. If you're focused on playing new AAA games that are coming out, you will have to upgrade an 8GB card sooner than you probably think. Again, same thing with the power supply. I personally would spend more. I would stretch the budget for a stronger power supply, or at least a more reliable power supply, but this is just in here to fit under the budget. Now, generally, when you're doing a build focusing on gaming performance for games like Counter-Strike, Valorant, aforementioned titles, you want a stronger CPU than your GPU, which is why we've gone for a very, very entry-level RX 6600, and we've gone instead for the 12600KF. If you wanted to go with a Ryzen CPU because you don't trust Intel, fair enough. You can get the 5700X in its spot. It's basically the same price, very similar performance. They do trade blows with each other. I'm going to guess off the top of my head, the 12600K does usually come out on top. So it is the slightly better option in my opinion, but either of them work. This is what you want. This sort of layout for an esports focused build at around this price. Now, moving up to $1,500. From here on out, I'm not going to be recommending any Intel processors. I do not believe they're very competitive at this point in time, so we are going to be sticking to the AM5 platform. If you want to know why, I might make a video about that in the future, but you can just do some quick research about why. Just look at some benchmark numbers. They're just not very competitive at the moment. So here, pretty a simple build. We got an Ryzen 5 7600. This puts you on the latest AM5 platform using DDR5 memory as well. We've got this MSI B650M gaming Wi-Fi motherboard. This is a very decent motherboard for the price. It's not crazy. I probably wouldn't recommend chucking a Ryzen 9, like a 7950X, 9950X, or whatever comes out in the future in this board down the line. Maybe an X3D sort of CPU would be fine, like a Ryzen 7. You could probably run that off this board. You've got the P3 Plus again, very solid budget SSD, decent speeds. For the GPU here, you've got the RX 7700 XT, pretty much the only decent option in this price range. Also in this price range, you've got the RTX 4060 Ti, which let me just find it here since I've already got this site open. You can see basically around the same price. The performance is about 10% slower, and you've got 8 gigabytes of VRAM on a $600 GPU purchase. This is ridiculous. Any card at this price range should have 12 or 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Another good option at the moment, if this lasts, is at Scorptech at the moment. They are selling an RX 6800 for $619. This seems like it's low stock. I would pick this up if you're buying in this $1,500 price range because this is an insanely good deal. It's slightly faster than the 7700 XT, and you get 16 gigs of VRAM. This is a bit of a no-brainer. But yeah, just main thing to note, do not buy a 4060 Ti in this price range. I don't recommend, do not buy one. If you buy one, I am disappointed in you, okay? There's a very, very bad purchasing decision. There is the RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte, which is going to bring you up to $700. You could get this as well. Again, you're losing in about 10% performance to the RX 7700 XT, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of like ray tracing in this price range. So getting an NVIDIA GPU in this price range seems a little bit stupid. You should probably just get the Radeon model and move on with it. Again, another case that you could easily replace. We spent a bit more on it this time. It's around $80. This is a personal preference thing. Just make sure you got decent airflow in there. Mesh front, something like that. Maybe some included fans for free would be nice. And a power supply. We've got a slightly better power supply here. Again, do research on the power supply. Just check reviews and make sure the company has a pretty good warranty process. This is going to be good for 1440p gaming on the latest titles. You should be good for a couple years with this guy, but if you want to be 100% sure that you are solid in 1440p for the next couple years, we have the $2,000 PC build. Now, here we've got the same CPU, the Ryzen 5 7600. When you're playing games at around 1440p, modern games, this is not going to hold you back. Don't fall into the old trap where you think more cores is better. It's not. Check benchmarks from places like Gamers Nexus, Hardware Unboxed. Check if that CPU that you're looking to buy is going to provide you with the frame rates you require, and then go with that. I'm going to stick with the 7600 because for the most part, this is going to be what you need. Here we've got an aftermarket cooler as well, the Peerless Assassin, so you can turn on PBO on this and not be blown away with ridiculous fan speeds and heat. And that's going to net you a little bit extra performance, bring this up to the level of a 7600X. Same RAM here. We've got the 32 gig DDR5 6000 megahertz with CAS latency of 30. This is what you want to go for on AM5. I probably wouldn't recommend 64 gigs at this price point, but yeah, this is probably going to be more than enough for the next couple years. This time we've gone with a much stronger Gen 4 SSD. This is the KC3000. For the price here, you're getting really great speeds. I think they're up in around 7,000 for reads and writes, are close to that. This is a 2 terabyte drive as well. I would pick this up for $189. Honestly, this is just a great drive. This is the one you want to go for. At this price range, I'd probably avoid some of the ridiculous like Samsung 990 Pros. You can, if you have money to burn and you're in the like $3,000 price range, sure, go for them. That's fine. For the GPU, we've got the RX 7800 XT. This is a no-brainer. You've got 4070 level performance, plus you got the 16 gigs of VRAM. Allowing you to survive as games require more and more VRAM going into the future. And we've got, I believe, the same case and power supply as the previous build. Now you've got a couple different options for CPUs and GPUs in this price point. The first up, if you wanted to do a small upgrade, you've got the Ryzen 7 7700X. You can find this for around, I believe, 500 Australian dollars. Pretty solid upgrade from the 7600X. It's going to net you, I'm going to guess off the top of my head, 5 to 10 extra % gaming performance. If you want to go up to there, by all means do it. I would say the 7600's got you covered though. Alternatively, you could be looking at a 14600K. For the price, it's quite good. You're going to get performance around a 7600X. Performance and productivity tasks that are heavy on cores, on CPU cores, this is going to outperform a 7700X. So if you're mainly gaming, I'd just get the 7600X. If you really want some of that extra multi-core performance, you can go with the Intel counterpart. I wouldn't go for it at this point. I don't really think it's worth it. You've got instability issues to worry about as well, because we're not 100% sure if they're fixed yet. But this is a decent option. You'll notice across the board, some of the Intel processors are very cheap at the moment, just because people aren't buying them. So if you wanted to pick one of these up, you know, get one of these for yourselves while they're cheap, this is the time to do it. I personally would just go with one of the AM5 CPUs at this point. I feel like it's a no-brainer. Now we move on to GPUs. You'll notice here I've got the 7800 XT over the 4070 here. The main reason for that is the VRAM. As of yet, we're not seeing a lot of games eat up more than 12 at 1440p. I suspect this will change very quickly, and that will become an issue. Also, the 7800 XT is quite a bit cheaper. If we look at, you know, RTX 4070s here, we'll just check price-wise. You're looking at around, I think, $800, so it's another $100. If you wanted to, if you really want to use NVIDIA's features like DLSS, go for it. If you're worried about VRAM requirements in the future, just get the 7800 XT. I think it's the much better buy at the moment. Yeah, when you're in this sort of kinda low-ish price, like mid-tier price range for a PC, I feel like just get Radeon. You're going to get much better value for your money. But then as we move on to the next sort of tier, at that point, when you're at $2,500, this is where I'm going to start recommending NVIDIA. Okay, so here we go. Same sort of deal. At this price range, in order to fit under the budget, we've got the Ryzen 5 7600 as well. Again, with a decent cooler in there as well. So feel free to turn PBO on here. Get that extra performance. If you want to stretch the budget a bit, get the 7700X. That's going to add another $200-300. If you want that extra CPU performance, go for it. That's fine. We got a good motherboard here, the Gigabyte B650 Gaming X AX V2. This is a very, very strong B650 board. I wouldn't look any further than this for just a very solid gaming build. This is going to have all the features you need. It's got 3 M2 slots. It's got very capable VRMs if you want to end up throwing a Ryzen 9 in there. This is just an all-round great board. Again, we've got the KC3000. For the GPU, we've got the RTX 4070 Ti Super. This is the PNY model because they tend to be cheaper. I personally would not be scared of some of the models of the brands you may not have heard of. For example, Zotac PNY. They are actually very good quality cards. You may be a little bit iffy about them. I would not be scared, okay? They are great. They have good warranty. I've personally experienced this multiple times. There is nothing to worry about here. They give you the same performance and they're a little bit cheaper because they're lesser known brands. Okay, same case, same power supply, same deal with the case. Get whatever you like. Make sure it's got decent airflow and power supply. Make sure you're doing research on each of the power supplies and make sure, again, good warranty support and make sure the reviews are good. Alternative options to the 4070 Ti Super at this price point, you have the RX 7900 XT. Now, this is going to sometimes save you a little bit of money. I can't even find them here at Scorptex. Sure, we can go to Umart, out of stock. PC case gear, $1,200. You're gonna be saving like $50. At this point, it looks like stock is drying up on these in in relation to upcoming GPU launches, which I'm sure you would have read about online at the moment. Some of the higher tier GPUs stock is drying up on them as we prepare for RTX 50 series, RX 8000 series. So this is not a great price for the RX 7900 XT. If you did want to save a little bit of money, you can go for this one. At this price range, I would recommend the 4070 Ti Super over that. You've got DLSS, you've got much better ray tracing support, which is actually achievable at this price range. And 16 gigs of VRAM, that's adequate. 20 gigs, yeah, it's nice to have a little bit extra. I don't see games going up to 20 gigs at any time in the near future. We might be talking 4 or 5 years from now where that becomes an issue. But yeah, 4070 Ti Super, great card at this price point, so I wouldn't look any further than that. Now, if you're anything above this price point, the options get a little bit easier. So for the CPU, yeah, get a 7800 X3D or get a 9800 X3D. You may have to wait a bit because they're in such high demand that they're being sold out. Do not buy a scalped CPU, please. Get a 7800 X3D, or if you're an absolute baller, get the 9800 X3D. The price has gone up a little bit here, so $849, yikes. But yeah, this is the fastest gaming processor that you can buy. Just get it. Alternatively, you could get the 14900K. It's a little bit cheaper. It's $729. You get maybe about 15 to 20% less gaming performance. Usually, when you're not playing CPU-bound titles or games that rely on CPU performance, this is going to be fine. It's going to be the same as every other CPU. Just keep in mind, you are going to be paying a lot more on RAM because in order to get the maximum performance out of the Intel CPU, you are going to have to get more expensive memory kits, and you're going to be paying a lot more for a cooler. This thing runs ridiculously, stupidly hot, and I wouldn't recommend anything less than a 360mm AIO liquid cooler. You can do this if you want. As I said, prices are cheap right now because no one is buying these, okay? So that's why the prices have dropped substantially in the last month or so. If you really wanted to, it's there. I would wait for the 9800 X3D. In terms of GPU, get a 4080 Super. If you're in the price range way above this, where you're just spending as much money as possible, obviously 4090. I do want to make a disclaimer though. If you're buying in this price range, me personally, I would wait because the RTX 50 series is around the corner. The chances are Nvidia are not going to give you any crazy price performance value leaps because they're Nvidia and they don't do that. So, but just in case they do, and the 5080 comes out and you're getting near 4090 performance, and it's cheap, or like cheaper than, or like the same price as the current 4080, I would wait. Just in case that happens, I would wait for that. Same could be true in around the 4070 Ti Super range. I personally would wait. You don't have to. I doubt there's going to be any crazy performance increases for the same money. But if you're in this price range, definitely wait. Definitely wait it out. 5080 might be good. I don't know. But yeah, 4080 Super, you could alternatively get the 7900 XTX, the Radeon card. You generally find them at around $100 to $200 cheaper. Like for example, this Sapphire Pulse one here, or this Gigabyte one. It's sold out. Well, go figure. But yeah, if you wanted to save about $200-300 and pick up this one, you are getting a little bit better performance in games, but you're losing DLSS and you're losing ray tracing support. The ray tracing on the RTX 4080 Super is significantly better than the 7900 XTX. If you don't care about ray tracing, by all means, go ahead, get this card. It's $300 cheaper. If you don't care about ray tracing, it gets a lot easier to justify this card, but do keep in mind DLSS, NVIDIA's upscaler, it's an important factor whether you like it or not. If I was buying a new PC at this point, I don't care about ray tracing, and I would still get a 4080 Super over a 7900 XTX, and I have a 7900 XTX. So take of that what you will. But yeah, I would probably get the 4080 Super in this price range. And in terms of surrounding components, I would get the same thing. Get a decent B650 board, X670 if you want. If you don't know what extra benefits an X670 board would give you, you don't need one, and just get a B650 board. Same memory, 6000 megahertz CL30, just remember that, you'll be fine. and again, decent power supply. And I would go KC3000 still. KC3000 is a really good SSD. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit the like button. Let me know what sort of builds you're planning to do. And yeah, hopefully the upcoming launches in January of the RTX 50 series and RX 8000 series go well, and I can make another cool build guide for you guys. But until then, I will see you all next time. Goodbye.